Bob and Sheri, sponsored by Bank of America Customized Cash Rewards Credit Card. You can earn 3% cash back on online shopping, making the essentials even more rewarding. Here's Bob and Sheri.
You're crazy. That's what I think. You're screwy.
Crazy?
You're crazy.
Baby, I'm crazy.
I know you are, but what am I?
It's making me crazy.
That's crazy. I don't know what you're talking about.
What? That's crazy. How absurd. That's crazy.
I'm crazy for you.
Crazy.
What do these crazy people who speak to you and make no sense say?
Crazy.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
You're driving everyone crazy. You drove your husband crazy, and now you're driving me crazy.
It did happen just yesterday in Crazy Town.
You go forth and be crazy.
I think I can manage that.
Now from the Bob and Sheri studios on a crazy Friday, it's Bob and Sheri.
Oh, it's finally the weekend. We got the People's Movie Critic on today. He's reviewing M. Night Shyamalan's movie Old, which, you know, some of the critics aren't loving. But I find that a lot of M. Night Shyamalan movies the critics don't love, and then they go on to do just fine, and he continues to make them. So that's coming up in an hour and a half right here, People's Movie Critic with Old. We have comedian Cash Levy on today. We have a very good reason for why your coworker is so cranky and sends such nasty emails. And I read something early today about Joey Chestnut, the competitive eater, that I'm never going to not be able to think about. Are you ready? He's been on our show a handful of times. Joey Chestnut, he's won the Nathan's hot dog eating contest 14 times. And we talked
including
about
this
him.
year. He just won this year. Yeah.
We talked about him when he won on the 4th of July because he managed to get down 76 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes. 76 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes. So someone finally asked him, "Hey, Joey, what do you feel like afterward?" And he said, "You know that really bloated, tired feeling you have on Thanksgiving? Okay, now imagine that, except it's worse and it lasts longer." He said that, he said, after I eat hot dogs, like right afterward, I get really, really sweaty. People say it smells like hot dogs. I can't smell the hot dog smell, but it's sticky and greasy sweat. Okay, that's the part that I'm never.
Mrs. Chestnut must love being with him.
I was wondering, is there a Mrs. Chestnut? I can't believe you just brought that up. He has a girlfriend?
A girlfriend, yeah. And his girlfriend says it does smell kind of like hot dogs, but it's definitely gross. He says that after he does the eating contest, he does the interviews, which help him stay calm, because what he really wants to do is go back to his hotel room and go to sleep. He said, "I'm crazy exhausted. And when I wake up, I'm so thirsty. I take a nap as soon as I can. And then, because I know you're wondering," someone asked, a reporter said, and Joey, hands in the air, "Joey, when does nature take its course?" And Joey says, "About 4 hours later."
Wow. Thanks for that question there, Sparky. Holy smoke.
And then he went on to give some details.
This is what we become as a nation.
As a people.
You know, we tell everything and ask everything possible now. There are no boundaries.
Joey, how long till you poop? 4 hours. It takes me about 4 hours. He said that part of the secret is he goes into whatever the eating contest is really emptied out. He does a 2-day cleanse with just hot water and lemon juice for 2 days. He said, "My body knows it's going to be digesting a massive amount of food really quickly. So I make sure it's easy. Most people, when you eat food, it takes 9 to 10 hours to digest it. But after I do a cleanse, things move really quickly. But it's hard on the body. There's no way around it."
You know, I wonder if he's going to pay the price down the road. You hear about rock stars who, did a lot of cocaine or heroin or whatever when they were in their 20s and 30s. And then, their physical well-being is not good when they're in their 50s, and some die early. You wonder if doing this to the body has consequences later in life.
Well, I guess we'll find out, because he's still, in his prime competitive eating phase. And in case you're wondering, were there any questions left to ask? Here's one. Hey, Joey, do you like hot dogs? And he said, I love hot dogs. He said, I love hot dogs with mustard and raw onions and cheese whiz. He said, I'm not a purist. I'll even put ketchup on every now and again. Cream cheese is pretty good on a hot dog, too. He said,
he's got to say that. He's at Nathan's.
He said, you know how a runner, even when they're not doing a marathon, they still go for a run? That's me with hot dogs. And he said, as long as my body continues to cooperate, I'm going to be able to do this for years. And one of these days, someone's going to come along, some absolute boss man or woman, and challenge me. And I'm looking forward to it. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep on eating. So I think any questions you had about competitive hot dog eating, I feel like Joey's answered them all. What do you think?
Them, yeah. I wonder how many times he competes during the course of a year. The only one I ever hear about is Nathan's, of course. I mean,
you're right. There are other ones. There are other ones, yeah, because I've witnessed them. They're like regional ones. And a woman by the name of Sonia, who was the Black Widow. Remember her?
Oh,
I got to meet her at one of those competitions. And she's
never beaten Joey, has she?
I don't think so, no. Huh?
No.
But can we all agree that the phrase hot dog sweat is uncomfortable? Can we at least all as Americans, we're so divided, we're so fractured, we're so angry at each other, but can we all come together as a nation and agree that hot dog sweat is bad? Yep. Show of hands. Yeah. Oh my gosh, we have consensus.
Yay, look at that.
It's Bob and Sheri.
A shareable taste of the show. The Fun Size Podcast drops every Thursday on the free Bob and Sheri app.
Well, one thing you can count on, and that is change. And there are many different arenas in our country where change is happening. And one of those arenas is weed. It's legal in a bunch of states now. I forget exactly how many, like 16, 18 states. Connecticut just legalized it, the latest one. And we have a news report out of Channel 12 in New Jersey. Sometimes you don't even see it coming, what change is going to do. So let's just listen to a reporter on the street across from a rather large building in New Jersey and find out what's going on.
Dell, those neighbors tell me they're not against growing marijuana, especially for medical purposes. They just don't want the smells inside their homes, their vehicles, permeating their clothes. Now, we're across the street, and at times, we can smell it. But to give you an idea of how big the building is, well, it used to be a Walmart. Verano Holdings owns the facility, and about 8 months ago, neighbors say they started smelling what they thought were skunks. Turns out it was the growing operation here. The land is zoned for agricultural use, and Verano was granted a license to operate in early 2020. Some neighbors tell me they had no idea marijuana would take over the retail space previously run by Walmart, and want to know why a company considered to be one of the leading producers of medical marijuana in the country simply can't control the smell.
I don't think the state of New Jersey is ready for any of this. Nobody has done their homework. Somebody approved this, they rushed it through, and there's guinea pigs out there, and you can see I'm the main guinea pig.
What I don't understand is that how you can do good for the community as far as, medical marijuana, which is terrific. If it indeed works for that person, I think I applaud it. It's awesome, but not at the expense of neighbors and surrounding people who feel like they have to move because nobody's doing anything about helping us out.
68 neighbors have signed a petition calling for the township to do something about the odors. Now, I reached out to Verano, and a spokesperson says they'll have a response to these concerns a little bit later on today. I also reached out to the New Jersey DEP and asked them how they monitor the odors from plants such as this cultivating facility. Now, we're also waiting to hear reaction from Reddington Township. Numerous calls.
I think we got the idea. I love that the company is going to respond a little bit later.
So how has this been handled in other places? Oregon, California, Colorado, Nevada. Like, how is this being handled elsewhere?
I don't know. When I think of people who are cultivating marijuana, I always think of somebody who is up in the hills of North Carolina, Oregon, West Virginia. You know what I mean?
Because you're thinking of illegal growers. These are legal grow operations.
Yeah, right, exactly. So I was looking at the video. Obviously, we're on radio. We can't show the people the pictures, but it is a giant Walmart building. And on the left-hand side, you can see that they put some sort of glass on the roof so that there's sunshine that gets in there. But it sounds like it's a profitable business if you had to take over a Walmart, because that's a lot of space.
I told you that when I went to visit my mom, I passed a dispensary in Nevada that was the size of a Costco. And only the tiniest portion of it was dispensary. The rest of it was grow.
Is that right? Could you smell anything?
No, because I was like, I'm taking exit 120. I got to look at this place. We got off and went and looked. Olivia's not old enough to go in, so it wasn't like we could really spend any time on a tour because I can't leave my kid in the desert. But basically a tiny sliver of it was devoted to like retail people coming in and buying stuff, and the rest of this Costco-sized space was for everything else. Couldn't smell anything.
If you're one of the 68 people who live in that neighborhood and you have to move because you got transferred or you're retiring or whatever, good luck. That's going to be a tough sell with that smell in the air. And everybody in the real estate business is going to know that it's a problem.
Let's Febreze it. Hey, weed growers in Jersey, have you gone nose blind? Morons in the News is next. It's Bob and Sheri.
Morons in the News is sponsored by NHTSA.
We've got them.
Dim-witted individuals. Simple people.
With Bob and Sheri. You're a moron. It's Morons in the News.
We go to Jacksonville, Florida for our first Moron in the News story today. A man jumped over a gate of the range of the Jaguar exhibit at the Jacksonville Zoo and Gardens. That's this week. He wanted to pet one of the Jaguars, so he jumped over the rail and walked over to where they are, and he stuck his hand into the pen to give one of the big cats a little pet. The cat came over and clawed his hand. Jacksonville Fire Rescue said the man, who was in his 20s, was taken to a local hospital. He's going to be okay. Deputy Zoo Director Dan Maloney said, "This is an individual who wasn't using his head." I love that. He stuck his hand in through the mesh that separates the jaguars from people on the outside. If the jaguar had been able to latch on to his hand a little bit better, it would have been a very different story we are telling. The zoo said they have not had an injury like this in 11 years. The last time, somebody jumped over the fence and got in with the animals. And that person was hospitalized. So the bottom line, folks, the jaguars don't like being in the cage to begin with. And if you put your hand in there, they're going to let you know.
You know, this guy is such an idiot that not only was he shocked that the Jaguar clawed him, but he was also disappointed that it's not much of a football player.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
Let's stay in Florida for today's Moron of the Day, coming to us out of Pensacola. Guy goes into O'Reilly's Uptown Tavern in Pensacola and makes a quick motion as though he's putting a gun into a make-believe holster. But here's the problem.
Oh, no.
The holster was make-believe, but the gun was real. And so was the bullet in it. And he accidentally shot himself in the torso. The manager of O'Reilly's Tavern said, I don't know, maybe he was pretending to be like a badass or something. But from what I can tell, it was completely by accident. The gentleman immediately left O'Reilly's and checked himself into the hospital, and police are deciding whether or not to press charges. or to let it go as stupidity is its own punishment. Text
O'Reilly.
Text the word moron right now to 888-262-7437. We'll send today's Moron of the Day straight to your phone, and you'll be registered to win a bottle of People Make Me Sick, the official hand sanitizer of the Bob and Sheri Show.
This story is from Pittsburgh, the Post-Gazette. A Brackenridge man deposited $50 at his credit union and then returned a couple of hours later to make a withdrawal of $101,000. That's right. Thomas George, 66, attempted to rob a bank. And as a matter of fact, he was successful. He was wearing a Guy Fawkes mask. He pointed at what appeared to be a gun at two tellers. He came around and got $101,000, and he walked out. Here's the problem. They have cameras, and the cameras got his car and the license plate. They figured out where the guy lived, and they went immediately, I'm talking about within an hour, to his house. They said, "Where is the money?" And he said, "I hid it in the furnace of my basement." That's the last place I would put $101,000. And they also found a loaded gun on the steps. The judge has not sentenced, but a hearing has been set. Cameras are everywhere. Cameras are everywhere. And that's
Folks,
Morons in the News.
Folks, I know that America is very divided and fractured, and we're all angry with each other. But earlier we agreed that hot dog sweat was bad. So now, by a show of hands, how many of us agree that paper money is flammable? Show of hands? That's two issues bringing America together today, right here on the Bob and Sheri Show. Don't go anywhere. We've got the People's Movie Critic reviewing Old, and we have comedian Cash Levy coming up. It's Bob and Sheri.
Leaving a child in a hot car can lead to their death very quickly. If you see a child left unattended, call 911. If the child looks unresponsive, do what it takes to get him or her out safely. Paid for by NHTSA.
Get the Moron of the Day sent right to your phone. Text Moron to 888-BOB-SHERI, 262-7437.
So my daughter Caramia got all four wisdom teeth out yesterday, late in the morning after the show. And we were driving to the appointment, and she's like, "It just seems unfair because I haven't had any toothaches or pain, and I'm just being taken somewhere where they're going to saw my teeth out of my head. Who does that?" I was like, I don't disagree when you put it that way. Like, being human is an amazing thing. To have four extra teeth in your head that you don't need, that you have to have removed, that is a very modern first world thing. The reason that we even have those extra wisdom teeth is because early humans needed them desperately, because we didn't take, we were eating like things that ground our teeth down to nubs, and we didn't have dentists and stuff. So early humans needed those extra teeth, and now there was
no cosmetic dentistry back then.
None.
So you're right. You needed a backup.
So getting your wisdom teeth out now, I mean, it's been this way. It was like this when I was a teenager. Getting your wisdom teeth out is like no big deal. It takes longer to get your oil changed than to get your wisdom teeth out. You go, they take you back. About 25 minutes later, that you're awake and getting walked out to the car. And everybody handles the anesthesia differently. So when I get anesthesia, I throw up. When my other daughter got her wisdom teeth out, there were tears and there was grief because they incinerated her teeth and she wanted to make them into a necklace. It was insane. It was insane. Now I get Caramia in the car, and her oral surgeon looked like a teenage boy genius from a Disney sitcom. I kid you not. I was like, wow, Caramia, did you have geometry with him? Because I think you two went to school together, like a literal teenage boy genius. So she gets in the car and she's just giggling. There's no like confusion. There's no disorientation, except she can't feel her face. So at one point we're at a traffic light, and I can't understand. She's got a mouthful of gauze, and she's Novocaine. I can't understand her. And she's slapping at her face and trying to tell me something. She was touching her own chin and trying to tell me that they put something in her face. And she didn't know that it was her own chin. And she was pawing at her nose. And so I get her, and the drugstore is not ready with the pain medication. And with something like this, you have to be on time, because if the pain breaks through, it's harder to manage, right? So it's this like crazy math problem of get the kid home, get something in the kid's stomach. She can't eat the night before because, anesthesia. Get something in the kid's stomach, get the pain medication on board. Drugstore not cooperating. So it took like 3 people to coordinate all these efforts. And then that was it. She just floated away on a happy, giggly cloud of narcotics and slept for the entire afternoon, like the ninja.
Did she have laughing gas in addition to the anesthesia?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, she did. Oh, that's what that was about. Yeah.
And just came out so giggly. They gave her her teeth in a bright pink plastic box shaped like a tooth.
Oh, Caramia is going to flaunt that in front of her sister.
Thank you, father of daughters.
Oh,
It already began. Oh, so
I think we're talking earrings.
She gets her teeth and mine get burned by a stranger. The drama. So that was fun. And while I was waiting for the procedure to finish, the kids in the summertime, it's a nonstop assembly line of kids getting their wisdom teeth out before they go to college, I guess.
Oh,
right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So and you can't wait inside because of COVID. You wait out in your car, and then you pull around to a special spot in the back of the oral surgery practice, and they bring your patient out. Mm-hmm. So there's like 3 cars in the special parking spots, and we're all there for the same thing. And one by one, Caramia was last. Here comes the first kid. They bring them out in a wheelchair, and these kids are like delirious and giggling, and their eyes are rolling around. Here comes the next kid, delirious, giggling, eyes rolling around. And I thought, if you work in one of these practices, for the most part, this is your everyday loopy, giggly, delirious teenagers with mouths full of gauze. It's got to be kind of a fun workplace.
That's, especially if you're the person, I don't know if it's a nurse that does the wheeling or if they have an attendant, but if that's your job, that must be kind of funny, at least for a while.
I think so. I mean, I'm guessing that it's pretty, the reactions that these kids have are pretty predictable. I don't remember, I remember having the toothaches, and I remember going to get my wisdom teeth out. And then I remember waking up on the couch at home. I don't remember that crazy giddy ride home. But
the only thing I remember is I didn't want to have dry sockets, because when you tell somebody that you're going to have your wisdom teeth out, I hope you don't get dry sockets. Oh, that's awful. It's a great name for an indie band, but it's evidently awful to go through. I didn't get them.
The last thing that they said to me when they were putting her in the car was, okay, if this and this is happening by Monday, that's a dry socket. You'll need to bring her back. And from the seat next to me, I hear, that's the funniest thing that someone's ever heard.
Yeah.
All right, straight ahead. Comic Cash Levy. Then the People's Movie Critic. He's reviewing the new M. Night Shyamalan movie, Old. It's a Hollywood horror movie because, in it, people get old. And in Hollywood, what could be worse? It's Bob and Sheri. Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. And I bet that's hard work. But you know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's or renter's insurance policy along with your auto policy.
It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
It's the Bob and Sheri Store's Sizzling Summer Sidewalk Sale. Everything in stock is on sale, 10% off. 10% off! Including Sheri Lynch's cookbook, Cooking with Cats. And swag you can use, like Bob and Sheri 24-ounce latte mugs, travel mugs, H2Go water bottles, and our very hot line of mother of all mothers merch, including tote bags, candles, wear-around tee and sleeve shirts. 10% off! It's the Sizzling Summer Sidewalk Sale. Everything is 10% off. Just hit shop at bobandsheri.com and use the discount code PODCAST at checkout. Bob and Sheri, sponsored by Bank of America Customized Cash Rewards Credit Card. You can earn 3% cash back on online shopping, making the essentials even more rewarding. Here's Bob and Sheri.
It's time now for your Friday edition of Everyone Needs a Laugh, sponsored by Panera. Here is comedian Cash Levy.
Young kids here tonight. Anybody with some drug problems? Anybody? Don't do drugs, kids. Do you do drugs, son? You can tell me. He doesn't hear so well. Badgers are notoriously bad at hearing things. Do you have a vice? Do you got a vice besides shorts on a 32-degree night? Do you have any other vices? You don't have any kind of vice? That's good. Don't do drugs. Young people should not do drugs. You have too much to lose. It's old people that should try them. When I'm 97, I'm going to be dropping acid every day. I get used to this. I love it when people say that. People that say that are always really drunk at a hotel pool at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. They're like, I get used to this. It's like, you know what? It seems like you really kind of have gotten used to that. Maybe a little too used to it. You know what you've never got used to? A job. Do we have people that work here this evening? Anybody work? Yeah? What do we got back here, sir? Right there. What do you do for a living, sir?
I was a manager of a BYU.
A manager of a
BYU of copy centers.
A BYU copy center. Okay, yeah, that's unfortunate. You were about to applaud the copy center. Like, yeah, we make copies. That guy's not from here. 8 years, we don't care. Copies, that's great, man. Was that a dream of yours growing up? Being a copy guy? Pretty much? Like I said earlier, how low are your expectations? This man was applauding the survival of the flight. Sir, what about being a rock star? Did you consider that? I mean, I think every moment you can't be a rock star, when you realize that, your life is just a series of compromises. I mean, nobody's ever said, dude, the other night we partied like copy makers. So did you take one of those machines home with you, sir? No? Okay. And do you miss it? You do? Just the smell of the ink in the morning? Or the fact that it gets jammed up every time and you're the only guy that can fix it in the entire universe? I hate copy machines. You are a different breed, man. You're a breed apart. What do you miss about it, sir?
The kids I worked with.
Oh, the kids you worked with. Oh, that's touching. I can't make fun of that. I look like a total jerk. The guy loved children and the comedian just laid into him. All right, I'm going to let you off the hook, sir. You got a copy guy there. How about you, sir? What do you do for a living?
Sales guy.
You're a sales guy. You're not going to narrow that down for me at all. I appreciate it. That's the thing these days. Nobody really says what they do for a living in this day and age. They try to confuse you with their job descriptions, don't they? They try to make it sound very convoluted. They're like, yeah, big picture. I set up an eco-friendly infrastructure, synchronizing, synthesizing, synergizing companies and their subsidiaries, creating a bilateral platform or go-between for symbiotic product placement, orchestrating a transmutation which allows a win-win for the client, then kind of spins it off into other co-habitual relationships for their clients. That's great. How long have you been unemployed? About 5 years. Sales. You're not going to tell us what you sell. Do you just kind of go door to door? You just go, do you need something? I'm the guy to find it for you. I'm friends with a badger. What do you sell? You sell what?
Raw materials. Too.
Raw materials. Okay. Still. Starting to get more of a picture, though. of what this guy's referring to, right? And again, this is what people do. They make their job sound better than it is. You know these people. I own a car wash. No, you own a hose. I'm a ballerina. You dance at a strip bar. I'm an import-export. You sell marijuana to high school kids. I sell raw materials. You sell marijuana to high school kids. What kind of raw materials do you sell?
Nutritional ingredients.
Nutritional ingredients?
He caught them. He got lucky, I'll tell you, with that guy.
No kidding. That is Cash Levy. You can watch his set and all of the comics we feature on Everyone Needs a Laugh on our website, BOBANDSHERI.com. We got the People's Movie Critic coming up. It's Bob and Sheri.
The Bob and Sheri website, the Oddcast, contest info, bobandsheri.com.
We just featured the comedian Cash Levy talking about how people make their jobs seem so mysterious. But I find that a lot of like grown-up jobs are mysterious. I'll get into conversations, especially back when we were traveling a lot for work. I'll get into conversations with strangers at airports and on planes. And they'll be like, so is this business or pleasure? Well, it's business. What do you do? Well, I have, my partner and I do a radio show, blah, blah, blah. Radio. That's so interesting. What do you do? And then they tell me something and I have no idea what any of it meant. It involves an industry I know nothing about, and they're selling products I don't understand to people who do things with these products that I can't comprehend. Don't you find that a lot of the people that you know have a job like that, and then you feel kind of like, oh, I feel like the village idiot because I don't have a complicated job involving mysterious and dangerous things.
The first time I noticed that about myself, it was when I discovered what an actual actuary does. And because I'd heard the term, he's an actuary or she's an actuary. And I went, oh, an actuary. Oh, that sounds very important. But basically, I think they're focused on trying to pinpoint how long I'm going to live, how long you're going to live, right? And then making decisions for companies based around that. I know it's more complex than that, but I think, I'm still not completely sure. I think that's a big part of it.
Anytime you like, I have a friend who she's a lawyer and she works in the energy industry, and I'll say, how's work going? And she'll tell me, and I didn't understand any of it. Like it's just so complicated, and it makes you feel like, oh, I need to get an adult job. I need to be a grown up like the other grown ups and do grown up adult things.
Too late for that now.
It is too late for that.
It is funny. It's not so much for you, but it is too late for me. I mean, if this suddenly went south, I just don't know what I'd be doing. I could say, I'm going to go to bartender school or something like that. But let's face it. Do you really want me as your bartender?
Well, not as judgy as you're going to be about what people's drink orders are. You would be, unless the bar was called Judges, and people come in and order a drink, and you judge them for it. No, I don't want you to be my bartender.
That just may work.
I think it could.
Some people would like that. Are you kidding? No, I mean, I have been doing this since I was a teenager when I was in college. So the idea of doing a real job, and I haven't done a real job since I was 18, working as an exterminator's helper.
One of my daughters said to me, what do you think I would be good at, Mom, if I didn't want to be a lawyer? And I said, you'd be good at logistics because you like to make lists and schedule things and plan things and organize things. And you like to know exactly where things are and when they're happening and look for ways to make it more efficient. You'd be really good at logistics. And
I heard the word logistics for years, and only until recently did I understand how to make a living at it. Because,
like what you could do.
Yeah, because Allie's husband's father does that for a living.
If you're a very organized person like my kid is, then that's probably a good field for you. And then she was like, and then she named her sister. What do you about her? What do you think she could do? And I was like, I think that she could talk to goats in like a goat yoga, goat healing community. I think that's what she could do. because
there's probably a job there somewhere.
There is a job. She actually has a job interview. I think it might even be today. They tell me so many things. I can't keep it all straight. She has a job interview with a company that makes artisanal soap. And, for some reason that kind of works for me. I was like, yeah, I can see you in the exciting, hectic, fast-paced world of artisanal soap.
It seems a little bit limited unless, you own a little piece of property in Vermont and you and your spouse are going to, again, I've seen this. I saw that over vacation. I drove in Connecticut. I drove by this place that said artisanal salt and soap. And they were making it behind their house in a little shed. It doesn't seem growth though. I'm surprised.
Here's how wrong you are. The artisanal soap folks are hiring. And they have positions to fill because the demand for artisanal soap is apparently high. Who knew?
That's amazing.
Who knew?
That is
right?
just amazing.
And so I said, well, can you how does the artisanal soap gig pay? And she goes, better than you think. It's like, you know what? Every day I learn something new. And she said, yeah, and it'll be better than, with my current job, I reek of patchouli. At least with this one, I'll smell like soap. Oh,
that's a plus.
There you go. Yeah,
that ain't nothing. Yeah, that's right.
All right, we got the People's Movie Critic. He's next. It's Bob and Sheri.
Get Lamar's review sent right to your phone. Text MOVIE to 888-BOB-SHERI.
It is time now for the man himself, the People's Movie Critic, and his review of M. Night Shyamalan's Old. Hey, Lamar.
With M. Night Shyamalan, you never know what you're going to get. Will it be like The Sixth Sense, Split, Unbreakable, or Signs? Or will it wind up being like The Happening, which was, Or it could be like The Village, where you either love it or you hate it. There's no in between. One thing for sure, he is not afraid to go in his own direction. And The Sixth Sense taught us to look for clues in every scene and in every sentence of dialogue to get ready for the surprise ending. Well, now for me, number one, that's too much trouble for me, okay? And B, I want to be surprised at the end. I love the twist. I don't ever want to see it coming. When people say to me, oh, I saw that coming before I was through with my popcorn. Well, A, you must mean the second bucket, because the first bucket only lasts me through the previews and half of them dancing cartoon concessions. So, okay, I'm not impressed. And two, that must really suck for you to sit there for 2 hours knowing how it's going to end. Listen, make no mistake, M. Night, he is a master of what he does. Now, this movie opens with a family getting ready for a vacation. Priska and her husband, Guy, a museum curator and an actuary, they're played by Vicky Krieps and Gail Bernal, are taking their small children and going to an exotic vacation. But there's a tension between them that says all is not well. You don't know what it is, but there's something going on. Now, when they get there, the resort manager tells them that he knows of a secluded spot on the other side of the island that nobody knows about. And it's really beautiful, and he only tells guests that he takes a special interest in about it. So when they get in the van, it seems like the manager evidently had some special interest in a couple of other guests because there were two more families, but no big deal. They take off. Well, the bus driver, who is played by M. Night Shyamalan, basically pushes them out of the van when he gets to the place and hurries off and leaves them there. So they get down to the beach and everything's cool. Everybody's having a good time until they find a dead body. Now they're freaked out. And this woman was a friend of a guy that was already on the beach when they got there. Now, he is a famous rapper, and his famous rapper name is Midsize Sedan. It's just, oh my God. I couldn't. It. And every time they would say Midsize Sedan, I was just, oh my gosh, it's just awesome.
That's great.
The guy that played him was Aaron Pierre, and he's got this constant nosebleed going on. So the other parties are like a doctor who's played by Rufus Sewell, his wife Crystal, who's played by Abby Lee. Then the doctor's mom is played by Kathleen Chiffant. There's another couple. She's a therapist, and her husband is He's a nurse. All this is going on. There's some kids there. Now, in 30 minutes or so that the group spent investigating the dead woman, the children have aged 5 years. 30 minutes later, they're in their mid-teens. So now everybody starts freaking out because the adults are also aging, but it's not as noticeable because, but watching the kids, all this is happening. And when they try to go back the way they came, they can't. They cannot find a way off this island. And in another day, all the adults are going to be dead of old age. Can't say anymore. That's all I can tell you. That's what's in the previews. I'm not saying anything else, okay? The movie is an hour and 48 minutes long. It's rated PG-13. Now, I didn't see the ending coming, but as you know, I wasn't looking. So, of course, I didn't see it. But when it was over, like a lot of his movies, I really could not decide if I liked it or not. I'm still not sure.
Really? Again?
I did not like it. Watching these people go through what they did was very interesting. The cinematography was fantastic. He knows how to shoot a movie. There was another couple in the theater, and I talked to them after it was over with. They couldn't say exactly how they felt. I'll say this. I'm glad I watched it. It was certainly not a waste of my time. All I can say is it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie. It's not his best. It's not his worst. But I say you got to give it a shot because it's all up to interpretation by you. My score on this is 3 buds.
I'll tell you who's not going to see it, and that's cable anchors, because that's a horror movie for them, aging that quickly. They're right part of that. There's not enough Botox in the world to make them feel comfortable.
All right, we got 3 buds for old, but we have more of the People's Movie Critics straight ahead. It's Bob and Sheri.
Welcome to the Bob and Sheri store. You can stock up for summer with deals down every aisle. With Bob and Sheri swag you can use, including a really big 24-ounce Bob and Sheri latte mug, plus Bob and Sheri travel mugs and H2O Go bottles, plus our brand new Mother of All Mothers line with oversized tees, candles, enormous tote bags, and more. Just hit shop at bobandsheri.com.
Get Lamar's review sent right to your phone. Text MOVIE to 888-BOB-SHERI.
All right, we are back with the People's Movie Critic, and I was off air. I was saying to Lamar how blown away I was by this gorgeous photo of his wife from her teen modeling days. I mean, first of all, she looks like an old-time Hollywood pinup. It's just spectacular. I'll post it on the Bob. Can I post it on the Bob and Sheri Facebook?
Yeah, please. Yeah, right. Please do.
I'll post it so y'all can go look at it.
She did some local stuff. She actually was in a Alabama video, the band, one of their music videos.
Oh,
and,
really?
Yeah. And so she went to New York. She by herself at 18. She took off and she went to New York and she stayed up there for a while. And she hit some different places and had some contacts. And basically she had some offers, but their point was you're going to have to be able to live in New York on your own, for about 6 months at least. It's going to take that long, I mean, that's just how it works. And they said, that's just what you got to do. And she just, her family didn't have a lot of money or anything. So, and she was pretty much at 18. She just didn't figure she could do it. And so she came back, which I hate that for her, but hey, works for me because I'd have never met her if she'd have stayed in New York. So
that's probably true. I had a similar situation with, and Sheri knows who it is. I was dating a really beautiful and former model and an awfully nice person too. And she left Atlanta, Georgia when she was 17 and went to New York City and somehow was able to stay there and became a model there. And then she wasn't tall enough to be a runway model. So she went to Japan and she became a model in Japan for a while and then came back to the United States. And she would never show me any of her pictures. And I finally begged. I said, let me see some of your modeling pictures. And she was just fantastic looking and still is. And so we were talking once and we got into a conversation about, who have you dated in the past? What were they like? And I was saying, well, I dated this person. I was married once and blah, blah, blah. And I said, how about you? Who did you date when you were in New York City? And she said, some interesting people. I said, what do you mean by that? Give me an example. And she said,
Well, this one guy, and I didn't recognize the guy's name. I said, what did he do? And she said, he was the Ralph Lauren men's underwear model. And wow. And all you do is compare yourself, and there is no comparison. I mean, I've actually probably seen pictures of the guy. And I said, who else? And she said, I briefly dated Al Pacino. If you want to lose confidence,
a good lawyer doesn't ask any questions he doesn't already know the answer to. So that's right. That's your problem. That's your fault.
That's my problem, right?
You have the wrong attitude. You need Lamar's attitude. Lamar was like, because I was like, man, Carla, she looks like such a movie star bombshell. And Lamar goes, out of my league, but that's how I play. Now that
yeah, because my league sucks. The league that I'm in sucks because I got to get out of my league. I mean, that's my deal. So no. That's
Well, I mean, I'm in the same situation. I was in the same situation. A men's underwear model for Hanes has got a better body than me, let alone Ralph Lauren.
I actually had sent some of my stuff out about getting some modeling, but they had all the before pictures they needed, so they couldn't. They said we got plenty of before pictures. It's not a problem.
I hear you. Yeah,
so. Got it. Take that, Bob. Take that experience and have confidence. Yeah, she could have had the Ralph Lauren underwear model or the Academy Award-winning movie star, but she wanted you, a DJ. And Lamar,
no.
Carla could have stayed in New York to be a teen model, but she knew somewhere in Livonia, Georgia, a future movie critic / Budweiser guy was waiting for her.
Yeah, it's all about choices, right, Lamar? It's all about choices.
She's living a life she could never seen coming.
Kind of like that movie you just reviewed.
She's living in an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
And once
ending.
Once again, 3 buds from the People's Movie Critic for Old. Keep it here. The cranky people you work with, there might be a really simple reason for why your coworkers and online trolls are so horrible. It's Bob and Sheri.
Bob and Sheri, sponsored by Bank of America Customized Cash Rewards Credit Card. You can earn 3% cash back on online shopping, making the essentials even more rewarding. Here's Bob and Sheri.
It is Talkback time. You can call the show at 888-BOB-SHERI or text us at 888-262-7437. Email us at bobandsheri.com. DM us on all the socials. Download our free app in Google Play and the Apple Store. Tap the microphone and talk.
Hi, guys. This is Terry calling from Nevada. And in listening to Bob's list of things women do to aggravate their husband, it brought back lots of memories. My mother was an artist when it came to this sort of thing. She one time gave my father a beautifully gift-wrapped copy of Norman Mailer's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Another time when she was angry with him, she hung their wedding picture over the toilet in the bathroom. And another time she sewed shut his fly on his long johns, which he discovered while fighting a fire with our local fire department. And possibly my favorite, she had a beautiful bouquet of flowers sent to her with the note saying, "Dear Betsy, you are beautiful and I will love you forever." And with no name on it. So when he got home, she gave him a big hug and thanked him for the flowers. And boy, was he confused and spent a lot of time wondering exactly who it was who sent those flowers.
Wow.
Now that's very funny and very creative. The only correction I'm going to make there is that Norman Mailer did not write How to Win Friends and Influence People. That was Dale Carnegie. As a matter of fact, Norman Mailer would want to have nothing to do with that.
With winning friends and influencing people.
I think she was being funny. I think that was being done purposely. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. I missed that one. Isn't that interesting to have a relationship where, and I'm sure they were together for like 50 years, that you can pick on your spouse like that and still, they hang with you. They either love you very much or they're scared to death of you. It's one or the other.
Sometimes those people have that's their vibe, right? That's their shared love language.
Yeah,
I didn't.
that's right.
I don't think your parents were like that. My parents weren't like that. How about yours,
Oh, mine
Max? Were
definitely.
they
No,
playful
no.
like that?
They were playful, but not that's like practical. Some of that's practical jokes almost,
That's
but
true.
no, they were playful with each other, but they didn't do anything that was quite that devious. Sewing his pants shut. Good Lord.
While he's fighting
a fire. He's a fireman. It's not like he was out on the mischief.
What? It must be so hard to be married to like a real prank person.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, your wife is a little bit that way, Bob, but to be all the way in like that, so heavily committed that you're sewing somebody's pants shut, that's got to be a life.
My wife does not do stuff like that with me. If she does like a little practical joke at, Halloween or something like that, it's with one of her girlfriends. She knows that I don't play that way. I mean, as a radio show, we've never done practical jokes like some radio shows do.
No. But do you think that she doesn't pull pranks on you because she knows that you wouldn't like it?
Well, she would pull certain pranks on me. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but she would do them with her kids all the time. Like once it was Madison's birthday and she got a balloon and she covered the balloon with gobs and gobs and gobs of frosting. And it looked like a cake. It absolutely looked like a cake. She spent probably 2 hours covering this thing, and then on the top of it saying "Happy Birthday, Madison." And then she got a sharp knife and a fork, and Madison looked at it, and she loves frosting, and she cut into it, and of course it was not a cake; it was a balloon, and it blew up. The look on Madison's face was priceless.
The thing for prank people is they have the ability to delay gratification, because you have to, for a really great prank, you have to put so much advanced legwork into it, and then you have to be poker faced. You have to be completely flat so that you don't give it away. The amount of time and energy for that 1 second payoff, that's some really solid delayed gratification.
Well, the payoff is actually these days a lot more than it was when, for instance, I was a kid. Because as Madison was about to cut into the frosted balloon, she, of course, has her phone and she's doing a video. Okay, hang on, Madison. Let me get this right, because I spent a lot of time on this cake. And then Madison cuts in, it blows up all over the place. And she's got it forever on her phone. And she can play it back. And you'll hear her on the other side of the house laughing. And I go in there, what's so funny? And, she's looking at the video.
I think social media and TikTok breathe new life into pranks. Like the Three Stooges are all dead, but they're smiling from the beyond, because that was an art form that was never really going to go away. But thanks to social media, there's a place for it now.
And these things come and go. Like, you remember, it was about a year ago, it was a thing where a husband would be totally naked. He'd come out of the bathroom. His wife is reading. She's in the other room. And he's got the phone in his hand. He's doing a video. And she's just, looking. And then she turns around. And then there's her naked husband. And he gets the reaction. That was a thing for a while. And then it moves along to something else.
Yep. Well, we want to hear from you. 888-BOB-SHERI. It's Bob and Sheri.
Congratulations, Sheri Lynch, named one of the most influential women in radio again this year. It's Bob and Sheri.
We've had a really exciting week in our family. Kevin's daughter, Maggie, gave birth to identical twin baby boys. They're early, as twins often are, and they're tiny. They're just a little over 4 pounds, but everybody's doing great. Mom's doing great. The baby's doing great.
Good.
And Kevin is over the moon. He drove up. She lives about, a couple of hours or so away from us. So he drove up to be at the hospital when the babies were born, and got to hold one of them. The smaller of the two boys had to go to the NICU. So Kev got to hold the bigger of the two. But these babies are so tiny. Kev said this baby's head is the size of a cue ball, just like itsy bitsy little teeny babies.
Oh my.
Here's the coolest part of all of this that I can't stop thinking about. So Maggie's mom, Joni, Kevin's first wife, is the mother of twin boys. Now, those twins are fraternal, Russell and Zane. They're not identical, and they couldn't be any more different. But she's the mom of twin boys. And now her daughter is the mom of twin boys.
That's something. Isn't that something?
When I think about like how cool it is, how beautiful it is that they share that experience now as mother and daughter, they now share the experience of being the mothers of twin boys. I just think that's so beautiful and poetic. I love that for the two of them. So
what
much.
are some of the what are some of the photographic opportunities that could be posted on a TikTok when you have that situation?
Oh, I mean, a lifetime's worth of content, right?
I think so too. Like if you found a picture of the twins with certain outfits on, maybe a few years from now, you could try to find the same exact outfits that the new twins could wear.
Yeah,
things like that. I love it when people post that. Yeah, have you seen when people post something like a guy is with his father and I don't know where they are. They're in a hiking expedition. And they find the exact same outfit. So the first shot is the kid is 6, and the second shot, the kid is 26. Yep. And they go to the exact same tree where they were hiking, and they take another photograph. I love that.
It's just, there's just this amazing symmetry in it. And I know that sometimes twins run in families. So that does happen. Like sometimes you'll see a story about, triplet sisters married on the same day, all having triplets now, right?
Yeah.
And I just think there's something so poetic and symmetrical and beautiful when life serves it up like that. Now, these little guys, Maggie's little guys, are going to be identical. So it'll be interesting to see like how identical they are. You know how sometimes you get a pair of twins and you literally cannot tell them apart. So we can't wait to see how that goes.
You know what I think would be? I think it would be so disappointing if you're born a twin, but you're not identical. Because for the rest of your life, if it comes up in conversations at parties or wherever, they say, I understand you're a twin. Yeah, that's my brother over there. He doesn't look anything. We're not identical. You'd have to keep saying that over. I mean, wouldn't you want the payoff of being a twin to be an identical twin?
Listen, I have this exact situation now when we tell people, oh, yeah, that's Zane's twin over there. They're like, nuh-uh. Nuh-uh. They're so different.
Yeah.
But then again, on the other hand, if you're an identical twin, maybe that's I don't know. I think the whole identical twin thing is absolutely magical, and I've always thought that. Like, what is it like to come into the world with, your little twin flame like that? To always have that relationship, that one of a kind relationship with an identical twin. So I guess we'll find out because I'm going to have a front row seat for it. Just so happy that everybody haven't talked about her pregnancy really at all because we were scared. It was one of those high risk, scary pregnancies, and we're just praying that everything will be okay. And so far, so good. So, yep, welcome to the world, 2 little tiny brand new babies. It's Bob and Sheri.
You read it once.
I don't believe that.
And then you read it again.
I can't believe this.
It's Bob and Sheri's.
I believe this shit.
I cannot believe this.
It's starting to look like everything in life, all of your problems, all of your drama can be boiled down to the thing that got you into trouble when you were 4 years old. You're just tired and you need a nap. It turns out that rude work emails and online trolling may be the result of people just not getting enough sleep. That there's this enormous connection between a bad night's sleep and a rude, crappy, nasty email going out to your coworkers the next morning. Who's surprised? Anybody?
No, I'm not at all. Because, I mean, how many times have you not gotten a good night's sleep or you're hungover or whatever? You feel terrible. You get up and your spouse is there, or you go into work and, you see somebody and you say something off the top of your head that's just very harsh. I mean, everybody probably has done that at one time or another. And the internet is just an extension of that. It makes it easier.
The fancy name for that, and I absolutely love it, I'm going to use this on my kids now, is self-regulatory fatigue. You are tired and you are not able to regulate yourself. And there's a connection. If an employee gets a crappy night's sleep, the next day, the levels of cyber rudeness are much, much higher. And there's a direct connection between being agreeable and how much sleep you get. And
ladies and gentlemen, do you suffer from self-regulatory fatigue, or SRF, as we like to call it?
There's got to be a drug coming out for it, right?
Yeah. It cracks me up. No matter what the ailment that they're advertising pills for on TV, they always use initials for the thing, like it's taken for granted that we all know what SRF is, right?
I saw a drug commercial that was I think for like lack of concentration, but the way that they phrased it was lack of concentration may be caused by, and then they said something, and the name of this drug, whatever it was, may be helpful. So here's what it stopped me in my tracks, and I looked at the TV and I went, wait, you're not 100% what causes the problem, and you're also not 100% sure this drug fixes it, but the side effects include me hallucinating. Hard pass, definitely hard pass.
Well, how about the ones that's after they say that they can, cure restless leg syndrome? At the end of the thing, it says this product is not intended to cure restless leg syndrome. What am I taking it for then?
I like that. I also like the one where it's don't take this if you're allergic to this.
Exactly.
It's like what lawsuit went down that you needed to say that to me? Now, so here's what we know. If you are not getting enough rest, you are going into work and you're not behaving well, and you're sending out these nasty, nasty emails. And so when people get enough rest, it turns out they're not only more effective at work, but they're also nicer to be around and to get along with. By the way, this is all common sense. We've known this since we were all in diapers. Why we think that we can force adults to go without enough food or sleep and not behave like angry 2-year-olds, I don't know. But there's a direct connection between a rude, nasty email or text and a rude, nasty comment on your Facebook and a person who didn't get enough sleep. So the next time you want to come up with a way to manage your trolls and they post something really awful on your picture of your puppy, just reply back with, "Oh my goodness, Dan, sounds like somebody needs more sleep." That'll make their head explode, and then you can get on with your day. I'm going to post this. I'm going to post this on our Facebook so you can go look at it for yourself. It's Bob and Sheri.
Get the free Bob and Sheri app and instantly get the podcast, the Oddcast, and Bob and Sheri Fun Size.
I just had the most frustrating encounter with my daughter. So she's like, "How does this outfit work for you?" This is just now. I mute it so that she can talk to me. And I said, it's where you going? And she said, "I have a job interview." And I looked, and I guess my face, I forgot to control my face, because she was like, "Oh my God, Mother, it's not like I'm interviewing to be the president of the company." Okay, you're wearing what looks like pajamas and a cropped Toby Keith t-shirt, 57 necklaces, and what's that on your head? This is not what we wear to a job interview. And as I'm saying this, I hear myself having finally turned into the adult in the room. Right?
Was the shirt cropped, exposing her stomach?
Just only if she moved, as long as she stood completely still.
Is she applying for a job as an anchor, a literal anchor? She's going to be moving.
And so I said, I just, I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm old fashioned. I just feel like this is not what you wear to a job interview. And she was like, "Oh my God, they would hire a talking dog right now. There's nobody can find enough employees." And I was like, "Well, okay."
I have to tell you, I have to tell you, Sheri, that she is right. When I was on vacation and I was in Old Saybrook, Connecticut, right? And so that's a very nice little waterside town right on the ocean, Connecticut River. It's a little upscale. I went into the CVS and there were two people, and it was packed for some reason. There were two people checking you out. One was one of the skinniest young guys that I've ever seen in my life. He couldn't have weighed more than 110 pounds. And the other was a guy about 5'10", really good Tom Cruise sort of hair, and eye makeup that looked like something that Tammy Faye Baker would have on.
Get it?
Not just a little bit of mascara, okay? It was Halloween style black eye, like somebody hit him and gave him two black eyes. And he is the checkout guy at the CVS. So that's the way he looks. And he is not changing at all. Oh, by the way, his hair was blue. I didn't mention that because every third kid's
like whatever.
Hair is blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
whatever.
the blue hair, I'm so used to, but the black eyes like raccoons. The combination between the blue hair and the black eyes was unbelievable. And I'm in line. There's about 5 people in front of me, and I am watching the reaction of some of the older folks. And you know what? They didn't say anything.
They
had
probably
no
didn't
reaction.
much care. Yeah. They probably didn't really register it, you know?
And he was very friendly, and he was working harder than the skinny guy. He was very friendly. He was very, very nice. But I looked at him and I said, if this were a different time and you could, you own the business or you're the manager of the business in this case, you could say, I'm sorry, we sell drugs here. We can't have you looking like that, checking people out. But today, you've got to be happy to have an employee who's going to work for minimum wage or a little bit above.
And so who's going to show up? Yeah.
Yeah. And this guy is energetic. He's hardworking. He's just going to look the way he wants to look. So she does have a point that way. But I hear what you're saying. I might have said the same thing if Madison went out and looked like she was wearing pajamas and a crop top.
Well, the thing is, like, she reminded me when she a job, because she's going back to school after being virtual school for the pandemic. She's going back to college. So right. She had a job during the pandemic here. And when she went out for that job interview, I was like, gosh, I just don't know if this is what we need to be wearing. She went to that job interview in a pair of black leggings with a hole in the knee and a T-shirt, and I don't even know what else, and got an assistant manager offer. So she was unreal. like, you said the same thing when I went to the other job interview.
She could be right, but still, I'm going to stick to my generation. She could be right. She can't get the job, but it's still wrong. I still think you need to show a little respect to somebody's business.
I don't know what to say, because at the end of the day, like, these jobs that she's applying for, don't worry if you're on your way to the hospital for brain surgery. She's not your anesthesiologist. These are just like little part-time retail jobs and stuff.
No, I get it.
So I keep having this conversation with her, and she keeps proving me wrong. So maybe I just need to give up, right? It's Bob and Sheri.
Congratulations, Sheri Lynch, named one of the most influential women in radio again this year. It's Bob and Sheri.
So occasionally I'll watch a movie that's like on demand or streaming, and then I will come on the air and give not a review of it, but a warning, so that others can be spared the pain and wretched heartbreak that this movie is. So earlier in the pandemic, I stumbled across a movie that was one of the grimmest, most terrible, most awful things I've ever watched. You'd rather hit yourself over and over in the head with a plank. I said to people, do not watch this movie. They watched it anyway, and then called the show and said, you were right. I should have hit myself in the head with a plank.
What was the movie?
That was that Western that I watched. I'll remember the name of it because I'm thinking about this other one that I just watched that stars Kevin Costner and Diane Lane. It's a very good movie, but it will make you wish that you had just hit your head with a plank instead.
I was going to watch that. I saw it pop up on my Hulu or whatever it was, and I love Diane Lane. I like Kevin Costner.
When I'm done with you, you're not going to watch it. It's called Let Him Go, and Kevin Costner and Diane Lane play a married couple, George and Margaret Blackledge. He's a retired sheriff. She's really good with horses. They live out in the beautiful Big Sky country of Montana in the late 1950s, early 1960s, right around there. And they have a son. And the son is married, and the son and his wife have a little boy. And a terrible thing happens, and the baby is left without a dad. And the mom remarries a guy named Donnie Weeboy. And you can tell right from the get-go that there's something off about this marriage with the daughter-in-law and Donnie Weeboy. And then, but Diane Lane and Kevin Costner, they go along with it because, that's their grandson and they want to have a relationship with him. So the daughter-in-law, Donnie Weeboy, and the baby disappear. And determined to see her only grandchild and the last connection that she has with her now gone son, Diane Lane's character whips herself into action. She and her husband load up the pickup truck and they drive to North Dakota to track down their grandson at the Weeboy family's remote compound. And when they get to the Weeboy family's remote compound, they encounter, I don't even know how to describe what's going on there, but the matriarch of the family, they're like a gangster, middle of nowhere crime family where, they run this town, right? Like, if, you don't want to tangle with the Weeboys, you'll lose that fight, right? And the guy that played Michael in the TV show Burn Notice has a standout performance as one of the Weeboy cousins. And so they show up, Kevin Costner and Diane Lane show up at the Weeboy family farm. And the performances are all great. All of the actors are amazing. Diane Lane is incredible. Kevin Costner is incredible. Blanche Weeboy is incredible. The cinematography is beautiful. Montana is exquisite. The horses are amazing. It is the darkest, saddest, most depressing thing you can watch.
Yeah. I suspected that. I read a brief synopsis of it and I went, I don't think I'm doing that.
Now, I would love to tell you that there's a happy ending, but I'd be lying if I said there was a happy ending.
No. I was hoping for at least that.
Like life. Here's the one thing I'm going to give this ending. So often in life, your happy ending has a bit of a dark side. Like because you don't get everything you want, because this isn't the Disney Channel. And sometimes you'll have a hope in your heart and some of it'll come true, but there's a price that you paid for that little bit of happiness. And a price gets paid in this movie, a price so steep and so high that I actually almost hit the pause button to say, well, that took guts. That took some guts on the part of these movie makers to make you pay that price for this. It's a very grown-up, serious, heartbreaking, wrenching movie. And if you're kind of struggling in these hot dog days of the tail end of the COVID pandemic, I advise you to find something else to watch.
I'm always surprised that people who are going through like a breakup or they've lost all their money or they lost their job, something is just horrible and it's weighing on them. I'm always surprised where they say, I just like to listen to sad music when I'm in that place. I just need to go to a really sad movie and cry. Why?
Well,
don't do it.
It's how they process their emotions. Rather than denying their emotions, they find a way to be able to get them out.
Well, I've had some really difficult things happen to me over the years, but I didn't deny them, but I didn't go looking for the absolute most depressing dark gray cloud to envelop myself in.
I do. I love a good sad song in a minor key. And I know exactly what channel to turn to if I just need to have a good cathartic cry. But this was just devastating.
Was Diane Lane okay?
I'm not going to say because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. I'm just going to say this movie makes you pay a very high price for watching it. That's all. Right. It's called Let Him Go. Kevin Costner, Diane Lane. Don't watch it on a rainy night after your heart just got broken. It's Bob and Sheri.
A shareable taste of the show. The Fun Size Podcast drops every Thursday. on the free Bob and Sheri app.
One of our listeners sent me this, and it just, oh my gosh. First, I broke out in goosebumps, and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I want to thank Debbie for sending this one, Debbie Simpson. A woman named Aisha Nieves went to the show. This is in Pennsylvania. She went to the Lehigh County Humane Society adoption site, and she was looking for a dog, a puppy, for she and her two sons to play with, because a couple years earlier, her dog disappeared. She'd lost her dog and she could not find him anywhere. Her heart was broken, and she had just given up. And 2 years went by, and she was finally ready for another dog. So there she is on the Humane County's website, and she's looking through pictures at all of the different dogs, waiting for one to speak to her heart, when she stumbles across a picture, and she said, I just froze. It was a tan pit bull Rottweiler mix, and it looked just like her dog. She said that she had gotten her dog, whose name was Kovu, when he was 7 weeks old, and she'd had him for 5 years when he wandered off through a hole in the gate, and he could not be found. And she said it was devastating, and it was so hard to accept. That was in 2019. So 2 years later, she's sitting there looking at the Humane Society website, and there's this dog, and it looks just like Kovu. And she said, God, should I adopt this dog that looks just like Kovu? And then she looked again, and the dog on the website had a teeny tiny scar over one eye, and so did Kovu. And she said, that's my dog. I can't believe it. That's my dog. So she called the Humane Society, and she said, that dog, I'm coming to get that dog. And she drives to the Humane Society, and she's just shaking because she's like, he won't remember me. It's been so long. It's been so long. So she's sitting there. You know, when you go to adopt a dog, you check in and all, you wait, then they bring the dog to you, and the dog is on the leash. The dog looks at her. The dog starts screaming, trying to run to her, jumps on her, kissing her, licking her, hugging, climbing into her lap, wagging his tail, losing his mind. She's crying. The dog is screaming. They live happily ever after, and she brought him home.
That is so great.
If that does not give you some faith in the possibility that there's magic in this world, then I don't know. I don't know what could.
Just love that story. I read something the other day, and it really ticked me off about the people who wrote the article. And I suppose they're right. They were scientists, and they did this study about, is the dog really man's best friend, or is the dog selfish, a spoiled brat? Because of what we do. They took, and I'm going to simplify this, they took a dog and they had it interact for several days, might have been weeks, with two different people, the owner and another person who was not the owner, and they acted differently toward the dog. The owner gave the dog a lot of food and a lot of hugs. The other person gave the dog very little food, and was mean, spoke in a mean voice, didn't hit the dog or anything like that, but was really, really aggressively negative toward the dog. And then somehow, in this controlled situation, they taught the dog how to give food to humans after it got food. So it could put its paw and it would release a certain amount of food. You would think that the dog who was treated well would give a lot of food to the loving one. It gave the exact same amount to the one who was miserable to it.
Yeah, I've had boyfriends like that. Some people don't share their food. Okay? Like, I'm sorry. I'm not going to make a global judgment on dogs just because a dog doesn't want to share its food.
I agree. I'm going to ignore it. My dog loves me. I look in his eyes, and that's all I need.
Whether or not my dog loves me, it's impossible to say, but I sure love putting him in a little sweater and calling him made-up names. I'm going to post this dog rescue story on our Facebook because it's going to give you goosebumps. It's Bob and Sheri.
Use the Talkback feature on the free Bob and Sheri app and leave us a message.
Fleetwood Mac, of course, is one of the great rock acts of all time, and they threw Lindsey Buckingham out because he was having issues with Stevie Nicks, his ex-lover, and she said, I ain't playing with you no more, man. And so they went on the road. They gave him $6 million, and then the whole thing was canceled because of COVID. And he has been writing and has just released a brand new album. He has nothing to do with Fleetwood Mac anymore, but he does have a new album out. I always liked Lindsay. He came into our studio. He was such a gentleman. He was flirting with Sheri a little bit, as I remember, over those many years. So I've liked him, and it's none of my business. But I want you to listen to a little bit of this song, and it's called The Wrong Side. And tell me when he's going to sing first. He does the lead vocal, of course. And then there are some harmonies that come in. Tell me what in your mind's eye it sounds like.
Okay.
Are you trying to tell me?
At first, I thought I was listening to the Jonas Brothers, and then it has that Fleetwood Mac vibe.
It has it. It is it. I mean, it sounds like two female singers. It sounds a lot like Stevie Nicks.
What do we think? Sometimes you have to hear a song more than once to love it, but I think that maybe this isn't one of those. The lyrics feel very pointed.
Yeah, right.
I
think it's a pretty good song.
I'm not the crime.
Yeah. It sounds so much like Fleetwood Mac. I'm just always so surprised when a group, I know that they had all those dynamics of everybody was sleeping with everybody else, and that does happen with some rock bands. But I'm just always so surprised that you just can't say, all right, everybody gets their own dressing room. We're all going to make millions and millions of dollars. Let's just do it on stage. I guess the Eagles were able to pull that off, but it's hard.
To use something that you're always telling me, everything's relative. Like once upon a time, Bob, you would have picked up dead rats for $20. You're not going to do it today. Once upon a time, they all would have crammed into a bus and toughed it out. They're not going to do it today. They don't need to.
Yeah. I just think, he could have used male background singers, but he chose to use female singers who sound like Fleetwood Mac. It's a good song.
None of us know what it's like to walk in another person's shoes, but I would love it if the universe would humble me by putting me in a situation where you give me $6 million to stay home and I'm still so pissy I write a song.
That's pissed off. I agree with you.
That is some kind of piss off, yeah.
What was that like to get that check? They wrote him, Fleetwood Mac wrote him a check because they were going on tour, and of course he was part of the band, so I guess it's part of his name or whatever it is. What's it like to go out to the mailbox and you get a $6 million check, right? And you're not doing nothing. You're not even touring.
Still mad. You're still mad. You still write a song about it.
Yeah.
If that were me and y'all sent me a $6 million check, I'd still be mad at y'all. I'd be like, oh, fine, you're going to do the Bob and Sheri Show without me. I'm Sheri. That's fine. You just go right ahead and do the Bob and Sheri Show without me. Oh, $6 million? Yeah. I'm not even going to write you a thank you note. What do you think about that? But I wouldn't go write a song or get another radio show. That's for sure.
I might write a note back saying, I just opened my $6 million check. I hate you. And I love you too.
He's going on tour starting September 1st.
Is he really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He was a very charming guy. When he came into the studio, he's a very charming guy. I've often regretted, that I'm just not skankier because I feel like I could have hit that. Don't you feel like I could have had some of that? I feel like I could.
He was flirting with you. I mean, there's no two ways about it. And he wrote you. Didn't he write you, or was that Chris Isaac, a letter later saying it was nice to see you?
No, that was him. That was him. Yeah.
That was Lindsey Buckingham?
Yeah.
Because Chris Isaac wrote to you too, didn't he?
Chris Isaac. Oh, I will never. One of my great greatest moments emceeing an event as a radio person was bringing Chris Isaac out on stage at a big outdoor concert venue. And he was wearing like this mirrored cowboy, like sexy retro cowboy suit. And
I know the one.
I was trying to check my lip gloss. And I looked, and he was standing next to me. He was covered in mirrors. And I said, "Mind if I check my lips in your pants?" And he was like, "It's my honor."
I don't remember that story. Are you
That's a
kidding?
great story.
Oh, God. What a dreamboat he is.
Only you.
What a dreamboat. Yeah. So take your $6 million and be so mad about it that you write hopefully a hit song, Lindsay. It's Bob and Sheri.
Get Lamar's review sent right to your phone. Text MOVIE to 888-BOB-SHERI.
I'm just sitting here thinking about the Lindsey Buckingham song, Bob, that you just brought to us, which just sounds honestly like such a revenge song. I know that dudes are not lyrically oriented. You were listening to the harmonies and thought it sounded like Fleetwood Mac, and I agree. But if you listen to the lyrics when he's like, "I'm not the problem, I'm not the crime, I don't want your pity," the lyrics feel like a little bit of a vengeance song for the band benching him and giving him $6 million to not tour with them. And so it's hard for us to relate to, because if we had a chance to make millions of dollars, we feel like we could suck up pretty much whatever, right? But now I want you to imagine, and you don't get to pick. You have to go out on the road night after night after night and share a microphone and sing love songs and breakup songs with the woman who hurt you the most in a relationship.
Well, you know who had to do that? I was just reading an article about this in, I don't know where, but it was the Mamas and the Papas, that 60s vocal group. And so you had the beautiful Mama Michelle, who's married to John Phillips, who writes all the songs. You got a singer named Denny, and then Mama Cass. And Mama Cass loves Denny, but Denny doesn't want any part of her. And he ends up having an affair with John's wife, Mama Michelle, a hot and heavy affair. And John finds out about it. And he writes a song. I think it was called I Saw Her Again. And it was obvious that it was about what they were up to. And it became a big hit. I don't know. It was a long time ago, but it became a major hit. And when they toured every night, Mama Michelle said it was absolutely horrible that we'd go out there and he'd watch me sing those words of that song that was written about my infidelity.
Ooh. This is it? I don't know this song.
Yeah. John, according to, it was an excerpt from, I think Michelle had a autobiography out or something. Evidently, John fell asleep on a couch, and Denny was in the house, and he just motioned to her to come outside, and that's what they did, and continued this affair.
You know,
but every night they played, they had to sing that song, all about their affair.
It's all well and good to speculate about what you could or couldn't do. But if you actually sit down and imagine yourself in that situation, if you didn't need the money, maybe you would choose not to put yourself through that.
Yeah, it's a matter of degree. You're exactly right. I mean, if you have, let's say you have $500,000 and you have the chance to go out and get the $6 million, you're going to go out and get the $6 million. So these people make so much money if they're that big. If you had $25 million, maybe not. But this is what I'm looking at. So I have a chance to go out and make, all right, let's say $3 million. I'm going to do a stand-up thing. But the person that I have to do it with every night is not you. It's Wooden Teeth, or it's Crazy Guy. It's one of the people we've worked with that were just terrible, terrible people.
You couldn't do it.
I think I could.
I wouldn't even want to. I wouldn't even want
No,
to.
you probably wouldn't.
I just would not even want to. The feeling of being of having to.
I think maybe as a woman you feel a little bit more, not intimidated, but that it's an ickier situation.
Now, again, if I needed the money because I got to take care of my kids, yeah, I'll do it.
You're going to do it.
I'll go sing I Got You, Babe with the X if I have to.
Mm-hmm.
But if I didn't have to, I wouldn't. And that's why I'm never surprised when somebody, how could he turn down $20 million to play Spider-Man again?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't need $20 million. And that should tell you something.
Yeah, that's exactly
the only
right.
people that turn 20 million down are people that don't need 20 million, right?
Yeah, the other thing that Lindsey Buckingham can hold close to his heart is not only the album, it's not the $6 million. Every time they fire him, they have to replace him with 2 guitar players. That's how good he is.
Oh, and by the way, he wrote those songs. He's still making money. Yeah.
Yep, that's true.
That's right.
On the publishing. So here's a man that can stay home and cash that check, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's Bob and Sheri.
Hey, thank you so much for listening to the Bob and Sheri podcast and the Bob and Sheri Oddcast. We would love if you would subscribe, rate and review, and share it with a friend on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you go. And thank you again for listening.
Fox Hunter is a new true crime podcast series from Imperative Entertainment. I'm your host, Sean Kipe. Join me as I investigate what really happened to 18-year-old Rhonda Sue Coleman on the night she was brutally murdered. Together, we'll pour through 30 years of lies, deception, and corruption to finally get to the truth. And what I've uncovered will leave you on the edge of your seat. Subscribe now to Fox Hunter. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.